Have you ever been stressed and wondered, how can I overcome this stress naturally? Hello, my successful and healthy earthlings. Mihaela Ragush here, naturopath and founder of the Natural Health Podcast. In today's episode, you're going to learn just how food impacts stress and stress impacts food. And I'm going to go and talk about stress in particular here in Australia, the situation with stress. And I'm going to go into food and stress, the link, and I'm going to end it off with, like I always do, giving you 3 tips to reduce your stress with food. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you an opportunity to join a health and success oriented community by clicking below and joining the Natural Health newsletter. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness of sustainable health in the business hustle space. The Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Mondays with Mihaela. That's right, me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely love, and appreciate your support. Here on Mondays, I'm here to provide you with simple, savvy, and sustainable health hacks to optimize your health. And today's episode, I want to be specifically talking about stress here in Australia and our food choices. So let's start off with talking about stress in Australia. There's a lot of podcasts out there and they talk about stress in America, stress in the UK, but I thought I'll make a particular here in Australia to help out my fellow Aussies. Stress, what is stress? And I've spoken about stress so many times. In short, stress is part of being a human being. It's part of living the human life, the experience that we're having here on Earth. And it can be considered normal. However, to some extent, long-term exposure to specifically chronic stress can impact your mental health and can become a risk factor for mental health disorders and also for your overall health. A national survey reports 12% of Australians experience level of stress in the severe range, while 64% reported that stress impacted their mental health. The benefit of having a healthy diet are well known. We all know and we've all been told, eat a healthy diet, eat your veggies, eat your fruit. But has that link ever been spoken about, eating your healthy foods and stress? We know that when we log onto our computer, we log onto our emails and we get 500 emails come up, our stress gets higher and higher and higher. We know when someone cancels that meeting, that proposal with us, our stress gets higher. We know when we can't pay our bills for our business, our stress gets higher. We know that something happens in our personal life, our stress gets higher. You know, we can either perceive the stress in our mind, which hasn't even occurred yet, or it may be something that's happening right now. Either way, our body is going to react to stress exactly the same way. And we've been told, Mihaela, when you were young, eat your vegetables. You have been told, eat your veggies. But has anyone ever sat down with you and said, hey, you're eating your veggies, which is actually going to help with your mental health, which is going to help with your stress in this way? I doubt it. And if they have, please do let me know. So we've all been told, we know how important it is to eat a healthy diet, but only 1 in 2 Australians eat the recommended 2 servings of fruit per day, and fewer than 1 in 10 eat the recommended 5 serves of vegetables a day. Because we've been told to eat 2 fruits a day, 2 servings, and 5 servings of vegetables. Most of us, or 50% of us, as it says, hit our fruit target, and only 10% of us hit our vegetable target. What effect does that have on your stress? What effect does that have on your mental health? There's increasing evidence that has shown that improving your diet quality, such as increasing the intake of fruit and vegetables, is beneficial for mental health. What does the World Health Organization say? The World Health Organization says that we should be eating a minimum of 400 grams of fruit and vegetables a day as a population wide. Intake goal for prevention of non-communicable diseases and to prevent several micronutrient deficiencies. That is what we're told to do. Did many of you know that? Probably not. Chronic systemic inflammation. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? When we go to the doctor and they say you have something is, you have something cyst, arthritis. You have, arthritis isn't the best example, but you have something cyst, which means inflammation. Whatever disease the doctor says to you that you have is probably due to inflammation. If it's not inflammation, it's chronic stress, chronic oxidative stress in your body that's creating a disease-like state. It's probably the reason why you may have the disease that you have. It's probably the reason why you are sick the way you are. And it's been linked to a low intake of fruit and vegetables, directly linked to it, especially your mental health. Fruit and vegetable intake may reduce stress levels. Why? Well, due to the bioactive nutrients and phytochemicals such as vitamin C, E, K, B vitamins, carotenoids, and phenolic compounds. I cannot pronounce them maybe, but I know what they do and what they mean, and they are here to help you with your mental health. Long-term and unmanaged stress can lead to a range of health problems, including but not limited to heart disease, diabetes, depression, and anxiety. So we need to find a way or ways to prevent and possibly alleviate mental health problems in the future here in Australia. Like I mentioned earlier, inflammation, oxidative stress in our body, in your body, are recognized factors that can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and even lower moods. So now the question is, what do you do? The question is now you know that you're probably not having an intake of 400 grams of fruit and vegetables a day. And I'm not just saying 400 grams of fruit, I'm saying vegetables also. Well, in our Australian recommendations, it says to have more vegetables than fruit, which I strongly believe also. But think about what you ate yesterday. Did you meet at least a minimum of 5 servings of your vegetables? Did you meet those servings? If no, then you actually may be impacting your health, your stress, your mental health. Let's go into and look at food and stress, the link. Particularly the link between food and stress. I love it. I found a study that got published on the 9th of April 2021 in Clinical Nutrition. The title is called Fruit and Vegetable Intake is Inversely Associated with Perceived Stress Across the Adult Lifespan. How interesting. That kind of says to you what it's about, but let's look into it. So essentially, the study says that poor nutritional habits are linked to higher perceived stress, but the relationship between fruit and vegetable intake and stress is uncertain. The primary aim of this cross-sectional study was to explore the relationship between fruit and vegetable intake and perceived stress in a population-based cohort of men and women aged over 25 years from the Australian Diabetics Obesity Lifestyle Study. So in Australia, men and women, dietary intake was assessed using a food frequency questionnaire, and perceived stress was assessed using a validated perceived stress questionnaire. That's what they use to look at, are you meeting your dietary requirements and how stressed you perceive you are. In this cohort of individuals of Australian, this is the important part, Australian men and women, they observed that those in the highest quartile of fruit and vegetable intake, more than 473 grams per day, that's higher than the WHO recommends, had lower perceived stress compared to those in the lower, which is 473 grams per day. These associations were independent, this is important, they were independent of dietary and lifestyle risk factors such as energy intake, physical activity, and smoking. That is extraordinary. In Australian adults, higher fruit and vegetable intake was associated with lower perceived stress, full stop. So, you're stressed out. What's one thing that you can do? Fruits and vegetables, right? How amazing is that, that you have the power to lower your stress, you have the power to get optimal health, you have the power to achieve success through fruits and vegetables, through living foods. What's a living food? A living food is one that you put on your bench, you leave it there for days, weeks, and it eats itself. It goes moldy. That is a living fruit. A living fruit that we eat, that assist us to achieve optimal health. What is a dead fruit food? One that you buy and you put on the bench, days, weeks, months later, it still stays the same. So these findings support current recommendations that fruit and vegetables are essential for health and well-being. Previous studies have demonstrated a link between increased oxidative stress and also psychological stress. And this study in particular looks at adults over the age of 25 and perceived stress, in particular intake of more than 473 grams per day, nearly half a kilo of fruit and vegetables a day. Some people say, well, Mihaela, that's a lot of money. Is it? Is it really? Are fruits and vegetables really expensive? Are healthy, organic, nutritious fruit and vegetables expensive? Because if they're expensive to you, your values are upside down. Because we know that what we value the most, we don't care. There goes our money to it. What do you value the most? Think about it. What do you value the most that you don't really care that money goes to? Some people entertainment, some people friends, some people family, whatever it is. For me, it's health. So therefore, fruit and vegetables are not expensive to me. Fruit and vegetables are a given. I'm going to get the best quality of fruit and vegetables because I know that having an intake of nearly half a kilo of fruit and vegetables a day is going to help my stress levels. If I'm a busy professional, I am not going to sit at my desk and get takeaway. I am going to sit at my desk, maybe, or stand at my desk, or whatever it is that I'm going to do, and I'm going to eat fruit and vegetables. That may mean takeaway, but it's a healthy version of takeaway, ensuring that I get half a kilo of fruit and vegetables a day. So the findings of this study revealed that people who consumed at least 470 grams of fruit and vegetables daily had 10% lower stress levels than those who consumed less than 230 grams. What would that mean to you, having 10% less stress? Would that mean you get to sleep earlier at night? Would that mean you get to spend more time with your partner? Would that mean you're not so irritable? Would that mean you're that liked person at the party because you want to talk to people because you're not stressed out? What does that mean to you, having 10% less stress? Because that's a large percentage of less stress. For some people, having 10% less stress may mean that they can actually take a breath and feel as if that weight has been taken off their shoulders. 10% less stress may mean for someone to actually get a good night's sleep finally. 10% less stress may mean that they may not get that panic attack that they usually would. For everyone, it's different. But what I want you to do is think about what that 10% less stress means to you. So the World Health Organization recommends eating at least 400 grams of fruit and vegetables a day. This study looked at getting a minimum of 470 grams. I'm not saying to weigh your fruit and vegetables. What I'm saying is to understand and to know how many vegetables and fruit you need to intake to get optimal health and see if it makes a difference to you. Let's look at 3 tips to lower your stress with food. If you don't already know, these three tips are definitely related to fruits and vegetables because that's all I've spoken about. I've spoken about stress here in Australia, how often it's become and how raised it's become due to the lifestyle that we live and due to everything that's been happening around us. We cannot escape or run away from stress. So what do we need to do? We need to defend ourselves and we need to be prepared for the stress. And I found a study that said to you that eating 470 grams minimum of fruit and vegetables reduces your stress by 10%. Now, 3 tips to help you. Well, first of all, which makes total sense, is consuming at least 470 grams of fruit and vegetables a day. More vegetables than fruits. I would say 80% vegetables, 20% fruits. Depending on the individual and depending also on the season, that also depends. If it's summer, you're going to have more fruit than you would in winter and so forth, depending. But I'm looking at about an 80-20 rule. The second one is ensuring that those foods are rainbow colors. They are pink, red, purple, blue, green, yellow, white. That they are those magical colors, that you have a rainbow in front of you, that you're not just eating every single day 400 grams of broccoli. That might be good, but you need a variety. You want the rainbow, okay? The third one is include this in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't just have it at dinner. Don't just have it at lunch. Have a variety and have it at different times, because having it at different times through your body and through your gut microbe and digestion and so forth is going to be beneficial. So there you have it. Today I spoke about stress in Australia. I spoke about the link between food, in particular fruit and vegetables, and stress. And I gave you 3 tips to assist with your stress with diet. If you love this episode, share it with someone that you believe might absolutely love it. Do what you do best. Love, like, share the Natural Health Podcast. And if you want to join a health and success oriented community, click below and join the Natural Health newsletter, where you'll be notified every Friday of what's been happening in the week at the Natural Health Podcast, and bonuses and specials and even giveaways just for you because you've signed up. Those are not available on my Instagram. They're not available anywhere else, on YouTube, on podcast. They're not available there. They're only available if you sign up to the newsletter. So click the link below and join the Natural Health newsletter community, which is health and success oriented. There you go. Do what you do best. Love, like, share the Natural Health Podcast. And remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health. Content and information provided here is opinion of Mahela Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. Under no circumstances shall the Natural Health Podcast, Mahela Raguse, any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Health Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting your doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Health Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in the educational content.